We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, the podcast where we dive deep into the art of songwriting, chat with some of the most exciting artists in the world, and explore the stories behind their songs. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and thank you for joining us. Our guest today on the podcast is electronic DJ and producer Ninajirachi. The Aussie dance talent has been making music since her teenage years, and over the last decade has gained critical acclaim both locally and internationally. With nominations at the Air Awards and tour supports for the likes of Charli XCX and Porter Robinson, she has steadily carved out a name for herself as one of Australia's most forward-thinking producers. After a string of impressive EPs since 2019, Ninajirachi is gearing up to release her debut album, I Love My Computer, this coming Friday. It's a wildly fun and inventive record, drawing heavily from 2010's dance and EDM influences and conceptually exploring the blurred line between the internet and real life. It is bold, it's euphoric, and it is a strong contender for one of my favourite records of this year. In today's episode, we're thrilled to be joined by Ninajirachi herself to chat all things I Love My Computer. We talk through the creation of the record and how its ode to technology theme ties everything together. We dive into her creative process, how she builds tracks from scratch, and trace back to her earliest moments falling in love with electronic music. We also talk about her Dark Crystal live shows and her upcoming Australian dates in August. Now we want to say a huge thank you to Maya for her help with today's episode, and a reminder that I Love My Computer, the debut album from Ninajirachi, is out this Friday. You'll find links in the show notes where you can follow her across her socials, pre-order the vinyl, and grab some of the merch that we discussed in today's episode. While you are in the show notes, please make sure to follow us across all of our socials and subscribe to this very podcast. It really does help us out and it keeps you up to date with all of our latest episodes and guests. Now let's get into it. Here is our conversation with Ninajirachi. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Ninajirachi. Hello there. How's it going?
Hello. I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. I'm super excited to have you here. I might have mentioned this before we've started recording today, but I'm very excited for people to kind of hear our chat and hear this record of yours. There's a brand new record. It's called I Love My Computer. It's out this week when people are listening, and it is a stellar record. Firstly, congratulations on this album. How are you feeling as the artist putting out this album into the world?
Oh, thank you so much. That really means a lot, and I'm so stoked. I've been nervous about releases before, but I'm not even nervous about this one anymore because I've just felt so much support leading up to it. And I'm really proud of the music. So I'm actually just so stoked for everyone to hear it.
That is super exciting. Firstly, very glad that you're feeling the love for this record as well. And I know you just said then you're very proud of it as well, as you should be. This is a incredible collection of songs. I know that there has previously been EPs and there's previously been mixtapes. Are we counting this as the debut? Is this the debut album? Are we looking at it through those lens?
Yeah, this is my first album, and I'm not retconning anything with that. Like all of the other projects, because I have a mixtape called Second Nature that's 12 tracks, and people and like Girl EDM Disc 1 is 10 tracks, and I've seen other people refer to those as albums, which like I'm totally chill with, but like I've never put out something and called it an album until now. So like those were like mixtapes and EPs, and this is the first one where I've gone into it, been like, I'm making an album on purpose. And so this is my first one. I'm so happy about it.
Do you remember that moment of clarity going, okay, this isn't like another mixtape, this is going to be like the album? Did it feel, might be a silly question, did it feel different when it went into then making the music and creating?
Yeah, absolutely. felt like making a mixtape first was really great because it felt kind of like practice. And it was a mixtape because it was kind of just a bunch of music that I made that I strung together and made cohesive and put like a name to and stuff. But it was kind of just like a bunch of songs that I put together and then made it a product afterwards. Whereas the first song that I made for I Love My Computer was All I Am. And up until then, I had been thinking like, oh, I kind of want to make an album now. And when I made All I Am, that was in mid 2023, about 2 years ago. That was when I thought, okay, I really want to make an album. And this song is kind of like my North Star. This is like, this feels like something I can make an album around. So from then it was all totally intentional going forward. Like it wasn't like I had a bunch of music and I was like, okay, this might be an album. It was like, I made that song and I was like, okay, I really want to do this now. It felt like I had a thesis kind of from that song.
Mm-hmm. I kind of love that though. I think that's a really nice way to build like a cohesive album. And that's not to say that every album has to be built in the same way and that it has to have like a complete cohesive kind of structure. But I think that there is something special when albums and records do have that kind of through line throughout it. I think that still grammatically makes sense. For the record, when using your words then, like something like a thesis, was there like a list of things you wanted to kind of achieve, or did you know things that you wanted to do on the record that you were able to I guess almost like tick off, kind of like wanting to have things on the record that you maybe previously hadn't have done before?
Yeah, I knew I wanted it to say something about, or just kind of say something and tell like a bit of a story about me and my life, and in like also like a really obvious way, like a way that wasn't too like obscured. And when I landed on the title, even I Love My Computer, which I think I figured that title out in December 2024, it just felt like a really obvious statement that said a lot without saying a lot. And I wanted the music to kind of do that too. And I'd kind of like, by the time I found that title, I had 6 or 7 songs that all kind of felt like they were thematically working together. And then sound wise, I had a really kind of intentional palette, but I also wanted to make sure that I was able to showcase a few of the different styles because I've made a lot of different styles of electronic music. Like not all of the music I've released has been like DJ friendly or like dance floor music. Like I've done a few kind of pop songs and songwriting songs, and I really wanted to have something like that on there. So that was why I made the song Sing Good and even iPod Touch a little bit. And I wanted to make sure that there were songs on there that would go really well in my shows. Like Fuck My Computer is probably like the most hyped show song on the album. Maybe All I Am as well. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to cover all those bases. Like I wanted to be able to have music that works well live, but then like songwriter music, because that's something that I love to do as well, and also like have sound design moments and producer moments and cover all the bases, if that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. And I think it's something that like I aware again that I'm being very complimentary towards the record and probably will be throughout the conversation, so apologies in advance.
Oh my God, please don't apologize. That is so nice. Thank you.
I think that what you just mentioned is kind of what speaks to the power of it, the fact that you have been able to wrangle all these different kind of sonic elements and have them work alongside one another so well. Like the record is this beautiful kind of mishmash of like 2010s EDM. There's different elements of electronic music from throughout the last like 20, 30 years. There is like some more softer introspective moments, as you said, like on Sing Good, which was like a gorgeous track. And I'm curious that when you kind of were making it, was there anything that that stood out to you as that encapsulation of the sound? I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
Like a particular song, do you mean? Or
yes, sorry, yeah. If when building all those together, whether there was a certain part of the album that really brought all those together for you.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think so. I had All I Am, and that felt like a really nice palette, and I felt like it was the perfect evolution from girl EDM and what I was doing up until that point. And so I had that, and I knew I wanted to make an album. So then I just started making a bunch of music and seeing what kind of came out I didn't have like the theme or the title or anything at that point. I was just exploring with that song in mind. And I think the next ones I made were Fuck My Computer, which just felt like really perfect. And I felt like those two worked really well together, and London Song and the track with Dane and All at Once, the last song. And I had a really early version of Cyrac that I didn't know whether it would be on the album or not. And a really infantile version of Info Hazard. Yeah. And then eventually the next one after that was maybe iPod Touch. But again, it was like such an early version. I didn't know if iPod Touch would be on the album for a long time because it was really hard to finish. But yeah, those were kind of the early tracks. And I just sort of looked at them all and looked at what they all had in common, and they all seemed to fit. Or like there was a few kind of sonic elements, like they all kind of had sawtooth basses and like certain drums. And I actually ended up like, once I kind of had that, I made helped me so much actually. I combed through all those projects and found the things that they all had in common and put them all in a folder, like in my Ableton browser, that was like literally called Album Palette. And so it was just so when I was finishing like the second half of the album and trying to be real intentional about it, if I was trying to swap out a snare or if I was trying to add something, I would be like, okay, I need to go to that folder, so that, that's like I guess, if a band makes an album, they're probably using the same kit for the whole album. So I thought maybe I can try to work like that a little bit. Sorry, I don't know if that was a tangent. I might not have answered your question properly, but was how I found. Yeah. Sweet.
I think.
Sorry.
No. Don't be silly. I was aware that also my question kind of got lost on a tangent, so I think we kind of met somewhere in the middle there. That worked well. One
awesome.
track that I really loved on the record, which I feel kind of encapsulated a number of those sounds, and I'm hoping you don't mind that I'm going to be a little bit self-indulgent and kind of ask about, was the track Delete. I really loved that song, and I thought it kind of did bring together some of those different elements, some of the like the 2010s EDM and different other electronic parts to it. I'm wondering if you might talk us through how the song kind of came about, or like how it was built and how it ended up on the album.
Yeah, I'm actually so happy you're asking about Delete, because it's currently, I mean, it's changing all the time, but it's like currently maybe my favorite or one of my favorites on there. And it was one of the ones where I didn't know if it would be on there until the very end. Like it was one of the last ones that I kind of finished. And even then I was like, oh, is this the right thing? And I'm so glad I put it on there. It's one of my favorites now. But it started as just a voice like mumbly voice memo gibberish kind of songwriting jam, like over some piano in late 2019, I think December 2019. And I just was like looping some chords and mumbling over them and trying to come up with some ideas. And I wrote it on the same night as I wrote another song of mine called A Light that came out in 2020. So it was a really potent night for some reason. And I wrote these two songs, and Delete kind of just was a voice memo idea that sat there for ages. But I'd come back to it maybe once a year and be like, oh, this was cool. But it wasn't a dance song at all. It was literally just like mumbling over piano. But I always thought it was a little bit interesting. Or I just always thought like the concept, like the lyrics were kind of cool. Or I don't know. I just always thought there was something to it. And then when I was going through, once I kind of had the idea of what I wanted the album to be about, I went back through all of my demos and I was like, what fits this theme, or like what kind of works with this? And then I found the Delete idea again, and I was like, okay, this is about, like posting and like posting for someone to see it and then being kind of embarrassed about that. And that kind of fits with like the internet theme and stuff. So I just completely reproduced it and re-recorded all of the vocals, like rewrote some of the lyrics. Most of them are still the same. But just from top to bottom, like reproduced it to sound like something that would fit on the album. And then I was a little embarrassed about it for a while because some of the lyrics are a little bit embarrassing. But I'm really happy I put it on there. And it's really fun to play as well. Like I played it live for the first time in Prague a couple of weeks ago. It was as like it was such a nice show. It was really sweet. I finished and then people wanted like one more song. And so I just kind of said like, do you mind if I show you a new album song? And it went really well. So I'm very happy that I put it on there in the end. I'm so happy you like it too, because it really is probably my favorite at the moment. Changes every day, but right now that's probably my favorite.
Look, obviously, we don't want you to be picking favourites because I think that's a bit of an unfair thing to do for an artist, but yeah. I very much appreciate you indulging me in kind of talking about it as well. Would you say that that's, obviously it sounds like that's more of a singular kind of journey for that song in terms of it being around for a few years and being aware that there is magic in there and working out how it kind of fits. What would the usual creative kind of, I want to say, like, how would like a normal session kind of go for you in terms of like creating a song, or like what would you usually start with when you are building new music or setting out to write something new?
It's such a spectrum. One side of the spectrum is like, I think Delete is an example of one extreme end of the spectrum where it was just a voice memo mumble that I sat on for years and years and then completely reproduced top to bottom and had to work on a lot over like, it's like a 5-year-old idea. But then the other end of the spectrum is Fuck My Computer, which I made in like half an hour or something. Or like, you know, it took more time after that, but like the main kind of like song, you know, unmixed or like demo V1 was just like, it was like a 20-minute, half an hour idea that just kind of fell into my lap very easily, which I loved. So that's kind of the two ends of the spectrum maybe, and everything else kind of falls in between there. But it's different every time. Like sometimes it's just like a mumble over some instrumental music and that's usually how I start like top lines and stuff. Like iPod Touch started that way, Sing Good started that way, Delete started that way. Info Hazard was a little different. That was like, it has my voice on it, but that was like a track first. Like there was that actually started with the chords, and I started it with my friend Darcy Bayless, who's so amazing at writing chords and making trance music. So we had these chords together, and it was actually kind of like a drumless trance, like instrumental, like just kind of ambient idea for a long time that we started, and then later I added drums to it and kind of turned it into what it is, and then added the vocals like later. So they kind of went onto the track versus like building the track around the vocals. So it's really different every time. Sometimes I will start with like drums first, like I'm trying to think, maybe like Cyrac is kind of like a drummy song. I think the like percussion loop was the first thing I made for that one. Yeah, I know that's not a very definitive answer, but it really is just so different every time.
But I think it kind of showcases the actual truth of being a songwriter and a creative in terms of that sometimes that method will work differently. Do you remember what originally attracted you to songwriting and kind of making music to begin with?
Yeah, I was into songwriting and pop music before I was into producing and electronic music. I was kind of exposed to dance music really young because my parents love dance music and they used to party in the 90s and stuff. So they would just play it around the house when I was growing up. But my first probably musical hero was Lady Gaga, and I would read lyric booklets in CDs, and that was how I figured out what songwriting structure was. And I liked I started trying to write my own songs when I was really little. Like they were just about going to the shops and stuff, like nothing too deep. But I liked the kind of the challenge of making something that fits a formula, or like there's like a scaffold, but you also kind of have to make it feel effortless. Like that was like a nice, or, you know, tell like a story within like certain confines. Obviously like you can write a song anyway, but it's like it kind of hits these beats like in an effortless way, or like, you know, there's so much effort put into it, but it sounds effortless. That was a really nice challenge. Yeah, so I was writing songs when I was really little, and then I got into producing electronic music when I was I was about 12, and I started finding EDM on YouTube, and I was like, whoa, this is like the craziest thing. And, you know, I was kind of primed for it by listening to Lady Gaga for like 5 years, and then, I think I discovered like Madeon and Zed and Skrillex and stuff all around the same time, and I just didn't understand what I was hearing, because a lot of Lady Gaga tracks are like, you know, the tracks are EDM, but because her voice is so loud on top, and my ear wasn't like trained or anything. I wasn't listening really past the vocal, but then hearing instrumental EDM and dance music, I was like, oh, well, that's not a guitar. Like, what's making that? I want to know, kind of thing. So it's just started. That was when I started playing with software, and I left songwriting behind for a few years because I just got so into computer music.
What age roughly would we be talking about when you kind of made that transition and found electronic music?
I would say about 12, maybe like last year of primary school, very start of high school.
Which is like very, like, not boggles my mind, but I'm just very impressed because I feel like a lot of 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds kind of have that, I don't want to say basic because I don't want to be insulting to any young people getting into music, but I think it's very impressive that for yourself that you did manage to kind of differentiate that kind of line between pop music and electronic and then working out how you wanted to find it and get into it. For those kind of young songwriters who are coming up now, do you have any advice for people who are getting into the industry now, trying to make their own music, whether that be electronic or not, and kind of and start their own songwriting journey?
I would say like I maybe credit that like my taste journey a lot to my parents and like what I was exposed to. Like my dad is like a really long time FBI radio fan. So like literally since the station's been around and since I was like a child, like I've kind of been listening to that in the car, and they obviously play a lot of eclectic music and music that's like you wouldn't necessarily find anywhere else or just on any other radio station. So yeah, my family are like big time, long time FBI fans, and yeah, having like just a big spread of different inputs is just like constantly inspiring. So yeah, I would say to anyone who is trying to write songs and get better at it and stuff, like just listen as broadly as you can, because you don't know what you don't know, and the way that you can get new ideas or learn new things is by hearing something you've never heard before, or even like something that makes you feel like a bit uncomfortable. Like, what is this? Like, what am I listening to right now? And then it just keeps your brain elastic, I think. Well, that's what it did for me.
I think that's fantastic advice, and I think that a lot of that does ring true. So thank you very much for kind of sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Before we kind of get on to the live aspect of this album, because I know that there are some tour dates around the country and across the globe in support, I did want to very quickly touch on, I know that we've talked about the musical thematics of the record, but wanting to just touch a little bit on the computer of it all, the fact that we've got the album that is called I Love My Computer. There's a track called Fuck My Computer. There's some excellent merch online, which we'll put in the show notes of today's podcast so people can buy it. I think that there's a hat that might have that same song title on it that I just thought was so good. For you kind of coming across the title, and because it talks on the different themes and the different parts of being online and being connected, and that blurring of reality and being connected, I guess. Were you someone who was just always online as a computer, like as a child? Was this something that was very like tied into your own personality, I guess?
Yeah, definitely. Like that's something that I would love people to know about this, is that none of it's kind of like cosplay for me. Like it's definitely about my life and stuff. And I actually didn't have any social media until I was 12 or 13 because my mom was really strict about it, which now I'm glad she was. But I was still online in other ways. Like I was I would read a lot of kind of forums and stuff because I played games as a kid. So I would look up, like walkthroughs and like forum walkthroughs, and I was on YouTube, and Neopets was huge for me, like huge for me. Oh my God. Like, yeah, that was like my first kind of virtual world, like online world that I spent a lot of time in. And that was really special to me. But then once I got on social media and like the broader internet, even just kind of, I'm from like a small kind of beach town in regional Australia, and I didn't really have any friends in real life who liked electronic music and stuff. So even just seeing people online who liked the same things as me was like, whoa, like there's so much kind of out there. And that was really inspiring. But even like I know this isn't necessarily the computer or the internet, but the games I played a lot as a kid, like I really love like fantasy and immersion that way. So that was huge for me as well. Yeah, not quite a computer, but still like a device with a screen, maybe.
I can very much appreciate that, and I think it is, especially in this day and age of 2025, where I feel that we've finally kind of hit that line between AI being something that is very big in everyone's lives and the line between what is actually real and not blurred. I think that this album is very topical almost. It's probably the word I want to use. I think it's a very topical kind of album, and I think it is a stunning album, one that I'm super glad that you are taking around the country later this month, I believe, with the Dark Crystal shows. And then September through October, I think you've got shows across the US, which is super exciting. How are you feeling about these shows? What can fans kind of expect from these Dark Crystal events?
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Well, this is the 4th year of Dark Crystal, and it's kind of like it's like a headline event in a way, but it's kind of more of a party, or like, I don't want to see it as like a, you know, I've played every year, but it's not like the Nina show, you know what I mean? Like I've always kind of had guests every year, and it's like more of a world building activity for me. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to play the album for sure, but it's also kind of about having my friends play and us all playing together. And, yeah, it's like, it kind of is the I Love My Computer tour, because it's literally happening right after the album comes out, but it's definitely Dark Crystal 4 more than anything else. Yeah, I guess, there's a few like live versions of some of the album tracks and older tracks, but I don't want to say too much about that, because then people might expect something crazy, but they might not be actually too different. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just really excited for like some of the album songs like sound better, bigger than in headphones. Like, so I'm excited for people to experience that. And I'm excited to play. I love dance music. I can't wait to dance.
I think that there's some real excitement going on around these shows. We've spoken to some people, across the country in the last few weeks, even just who are very excited to kind of catch up at these shows, see the album drop. So we are very excited, and we'll make sure that there are links within today's show notes where people can buy the album and find you on tour and buy tickets, all those kind of things. Nina, we usually ask our guests to wrap things up what they're currently listening to. For yourself, is there anything that's currently on high rotation?
Oh, off the very top of my head, like what I was listening to just this morning is the new Nick Leon album, and it's so good. The first 2 tracks on there are my favorites, Entropy and Ghost Orchid. Actually, man, I can't even, like, I keep going back to those 2, but the whole album is just so good and like such a nice listen. I just keep, I've listened to it, yeah, like probably at least 20 times in full since it came out. So yeah, love that. He's so awesome.
Absolutely love that. We will be checking that out once we wrap things up today. But until that point, Nina, thank you very much for coming to chat with us on the podcast. The brand new Ninajirachi album is out this week. It's called I Love My Computer. And as mentioned before, we'll make sure all links are in today's show notes. But Nina, thank you again for coming to have a chat with us.
No, thank you so much, Simon. This was awesome. I really appreciate your support. Thank you.